Hey everybody, how's it going? Forrest here, again with another installment of my complete analysis of all 389 Bach chorale harmonizations. We're going to be looking at O Herr, Gott, dein göttlich Wort today, which translates to O Lord God, your divine word. It's a chorale in the key of G major. As far as the harmony is concerned, it's pretty straightforward. I didn't have any serious problems with the analysis. Everything was functioning the way that it was supposed to. There might be a little moment here or there where there could be some debate about the harmonies, but I really do think that this is a straightforward, straight-ahead chorale, and we have a little treat today to analyze a shorter one. That being said, let's get started. So, yeah, we're in the key of G major, 1 sharp. We start on G and we end on G, so I think it's safe to say that we're in the key of G major. We immediately move to an E minor triad, which would be a 6 chord, and then immediately afterwards we move to a B minor triad with a passing 7th in the tenor, so that would be lowercase 3 right here. We then have C, G, C, E. That is a C major triad, root position. Only root position triad so far, no inversion. D, F sharp, C, D. That's an incomplete D7 chord. Call that a 5-7. Then we have E, G, B, G. That's a 6 chord. Still no inversions yet, which is interesting. And then D, F sharp, D, A. Root position D major triad, 5 chord. And then we cadence on G. So this is an authentic cadence of sorts, but it's imperfect because the soprano does not have the tonic in it, so we'll call that an I, A, C. Immediately following, we have D, F sharp, D, A, another 5 chord. We seriously have no inversions up until this point, which is really interesting. The bass really has to do a workout. Then we have B, F sharp, D, B. It's another non-inverted chord that's pretty crazy. You can see this really active bass line going on. Kind of like a neighbor tone figure here with the passing tone with the C. Then we have E, G, E, C. All right, our first inverted chord, that's a C major triad over E. That is a 4-6 chord. And then we have G, B, D, B. That is a 1 chord in root position. Get some more passing tones going on. And then we have F sharp, D, F sharp, A. That is a 5 chord in first inversion, and D over F sharp. And then we have E, E, G, C, another 4-6 chord, a C major over E. Passing tone while the bass leaps up an octave. Then we have D, E. I think really this is all just counterpoint going on here. This is just like a big figure with like a syncopation going on as the 8th notes go into a quarter, then the 8th notes go into a quarter, putting the longer rhythms on beats 2 and 4. So I think this is just a big 4-6, turns into a 5-3 right here before going to a D-A. This is just a suspension right here, this G. It goes to F sharp, so we're just going to call this 5-7 because the chord kind of happens here in its entirety. And then we end with 1 perfect authentic cadence in the key of G major. Afterwards, we have 2 cadences that are in different keys. Here we have a C, G, E, G. That's an imperfect authentic cadence on C. Cadencing on 4 would be kind of interesting, but I do think that we modulate here. So we'll go ahead and just say that we've moved to the key of C here, and this is now a 5 chord. I can't really do the bracket because there's not enough space underneath, so just know that we're moving from C to G. Then we have D, F sharp, D, A. That's 5 of 5. I'm tempted, maybe, yeah, I think because it's such a short phrase, there is a secondary dominant as part of the cadence. So D, F sharp, D, A is just a substitute for D minor. So there's no F natural here, it's F sharp, but it's just a substitute. Then we have a G, G, D, B, a 5 chord as we would expect, and we cadence on 1. And then we're looking forward and we have an imperfect authentic cadence on E minor. So I do think that this right here is a common chord, or maybe this is the common chord. We have B, B, D, G. That's just a G major triad, another 5 chord. We'll call that 3 in the key of E minor. Running out of space here, so we'll just say E minor, that's a 3 chord. And then we have C sharp, A, E, A, the passing 7th there. That's an A7 chord. That is 5 of 7, or let's see, or we could just say that that is 4/6, because this is melodic minor. So an A major chord as opposed to an A minor chord, which is what a diatonic 4 chord, a diatonic subdominant in minor would be another minor quality triad. And then we have D sharp, F sharp, B, F sharp. That's just a 5/6 chord. And then we cadence on E, B, E, G, an E minor triad. And if we look ahead, we have a cadence, a perfect authentic cadence in the key of D major. We know we're in D major because we see C sharps throughout. And if you listen to the chorale, it sounds like a perfect authentic cadence. So we're going to go ahead and call this, we'll call this E minor chord or modulation chord, why not? So E minor here is just another 1 chord, but in the key of D major, it is a 2 chord. You have some passing tones going on here. Then we have C sharp, E, A, A. Some passing tones going on in the bass and alto. That is a 5, and that's an A major triad in first inversion, or 5 chord. And then that first inversion triad turns into a root position triad on beat 2. And it goes exactly where we would expect it to go, to 1. The passing 7th in the bass. Then we have B, G, D, G. That's a 4 chord in first inversion. A G major triad over B. Then we have some passing chords. We kind of get like a 7, like a passing 7 or a passing 5 here. But it happens so fleetingly, or in such a short fashion, I'm just going to mark them as passing tones. And in anticipation for the cadence, we know we get some type of dominant here, A, C sharp, E, so we can call that 5. But what happens here? We have G, we have E, G, B, D. That is a 2, that's an E minor 7 chord over G, so a 2/6/5, and then we cadence on 1. And then we have a B minor chord happening afterwards, B, F sharp, D, or B, D. That is a 6 chord in the key of D major, but in the key of G major, which is what we're preparing for, it is a 3 chord, so we'll just call it a 3 chord right here. And now we're moving on to the second system, the last system. We have E, G, B, G. That's an E minor triad. That's a 6 in the key of G major, because we're now thinking in terms of G major. Passing 7th there, which we could say the modulation happens after the fact, but I think this C sharp is emphasizing the fact that we're getting to a dominant. So really, where you say the modulation happens is somewhat arbitrary, but you can analyze the harmony in the key of G major from this point without really any issue, because we have F sharp, A, D, and F sharp. That's a D major triad over F sharp, so a 5/6. Then we have A, C, E. That's an A minor triad in root position, so just a 2 chord, like a passing. We have this sort of like a passing 1 or like a passing 6. Then we have C, F sharp, A, D. That's a D7 chord over C, or a 5/7 in third inversion. Then we have B, G, D, G. Based on my expectations of Bach's usage of 5/4/2 chords, they usually go to a tonic in first inversion, which this one does as well. D, F sharp, D, A. That's just a root position D major triad, a 5 chord. and then we cadence on G major in root position. But again, we have the same cadence going on as we do as we did before. The chords are respelled, they're revoiced, but it's still an imperfect authentic cadence in the key of G major. And we're preparing for a perfect authentic cadence in the key of G major again, so we're thinking with that on the horizon. So D, F sharp, D, A, another 5 chord, passing 7th in the bass, and we have another passing tone in the alto. B, B, F sharp, D, that is a 3 chord. Remember, 1 and 3, like, you know, in the middle of a progression, 3 can be a substitute for 1 because they share 2 tones in common. And then we have, and leaping up right here, it's kind of an interesting non-chord tone. If we have, it's actually kind of like a 6. 3 wants to go to 6. This would be kind of like a passing 6, 7, but I'm just going to call those non-chord tones because they don't belong to the chord on the previous beat. Oh, actually, you know what? It's weird. Because the eighth notes are just in... See, this is the reason why engraving is really important. Like when you engrave and space things, it's really important. Because the eighth notes are in as close proximity to one another as this quarter note is to the eighth note, I thought that this was a weak beat, but it's not. 3 actually does go to 6, 7. We have D, we have B, we have E, and G. That's a 6, 7 chord. It's hard to see. And then it goes to F sharp, A, C. It kind of goes to like a weak passing 7th, even though all the voices are moving, passing tones. We have G, B, G, D, and that would sort of explain, like the 7th going here, 6 going to 1 is not really a normal progression, but 6, 7, 1 is somewhat of a normal progression. We see it from time to time. Some more passing tones going on. And then we have F sharp, D, F sharp, A. That is a D major triad over F sharp, so 5, 6 chord. And then we have E, C, G, C. That is a C major triad over E, so 4, 6. Passing tone in the tenor. Then we have D, E. We have a very similar cadence to what's going on here. I think this is just a big 4, 6. And then we get ready for a 5, 7 here with some passing tones going on. Because this is very contrapuntal, it's hard to pick out exactly where the chords happen, so I'm kind of using the bass as a guide here. With this half note in the bass, it seems more significant. Then we get a perfect authentic cadence, 4, 6, 5, 7, 1. And there we have it. That is the entirety of the chorale. Like I said, there really isn't, there wasn't too many, there really wasn't a single instance actually of like harmonic confusion of like where something could be reanalyzed, or really the only thing that has been a consistent issue up until this point is just deciding where modulations occur, just for the sake of analysis. But I think, you know, as far as modulations are concerned, I don't think there's really a convention to deciding when they happen in music like this, because if you say it happens on one beat and you could still analyze the following segment in that key without any problems or without having to make too many weird adjustments, then I think it's fine that you put it there. If I think a modulation can occur as early or as late as you want, so long as the analysis ends up being something that makes sense. And that's what I try to do. It's not even necessarily that I hear that the modulation's occurring there, because really modulations, to me, when I hear them, they sound like they're happening when they introduce the leading tone, like on the beat where the leading tone happens. But I tend to think that the modulation is being prepared beforehand, because that's where the common chord is usually. And in Bach's music, there usually is a common chord. It's either a common chord, or the alternative that we've seen in the past is immediately following a fermata, we see a direct modulation to another key. But like I said, modulations, wherever you mark them, so long as the analysis is consistent, that's really all that matters to me and my approach. I don't know, if you have an approach that's different as far as identifying where modulations occur, let me know. And I look forward to looking at the chorale, or just the multiple chorales in the future. Thanks for watching, and take care.